Air Force veteran Lance Frank has come up with a new and creative way to fix smartphones and tablets. The Mighty Fixer is next on Veteran on the Move.
Welcome to Veteran on the Move. If you're a veteran in transition, an entrepreneur wannabe, or someone still stuck in that JOB trying to escape, this podcast is dedicated to your success. And now, your host, Joe Crane.
My good friend and fellow veteran Bob Euland has come out with his new book titled Transitions 2.0. This is the best book for any transitioning veteran. Check out Transitions 2.0 at veteranontheMove.com/transitions. Lance Frank from Mighty Fixer, welcome to Veteran on the Move. Thanks for being here today. Before we get started about business and entrepreneurship, take us back a little bit and tell us what you did in the Air Force.
All right. Well, I was in the Air Force from 98 to 02, and I was a Security Forces member. I think the best way to describe the Security Forces in the Air Force is to let you know that the Russian Spetsnaz were surveyed after the breakup of the Soviet Union, and they said that one of their three most feared units was the Air Force Security Forces. And it's because no matter what they were told to do, you never knew what they were going to do. So, we always had our eye on the mission. We just found our own ways to do it. But it was everything from waving in traffic to tactics and stuff in the field to being an everyday patrolman on military bases.
Yeah, and I believe I know at least the Marine Corps all go through the Air Force Security Forces school, right?
You know what? They did not when I was in, but that could have changed. I mean, it's been 19 years since I went through that school.
Yeah, because I know if you were going to go be an MP in the Marine Corps, you went through the Air Force Security Forces school, but that was a long time ago too. You used to see the guys down in San Antonio, but like a lot of schools, one service does the school the best, and some of the other services will run their folks through the same school. But so how long were you in Security Forces with the Air Force?
So I did that for 4 years. 3 of those years I was on the Air Force Defender Challenge team, which is the top 1% of tactics, shooting, and physical fitness. And we would go and compete against other bases and then later on other countries. But I did that for 4 years. My last year was in Clear Air Force Station, Alaska, which was a remote assignment. After that, I was actually going to get out and open a clothing store. But September 11th happened, and I ended up becoming a Federal Air Marshal when they revamped the program.
I was furloughed from the airline shortly after September 11th in 01, and that was one of the jobs I was looking at doing. But I was like, well, that's going to probably take me away as much as any of the other jobs. And I actually, in the end, I ended up going back on active duty. So how long were you doing the Air Marshal job?
I did that for about 5 years. And, it was strange because I always wanted to be a business owner. I always wanted to, the idea of owning a business and creating a concept and then developing it out to a deliverable, like something that's tangible, always kind of excited me. So I wasn't particularly happy with being Air Marshal. So I reached a point where I went home one day. I got on my dirt bike. I went for a ride. I ended up getting in an accident. I broke my foot, and I also had a concussion, so had to take a couple weeks off and stayed home hanging out with my mom, and she had asked me, hey, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, you know what? I want to move to Los Angeles and write TV shows. And she said, why don't you just go do that? So at this point, I had dedicated 9 years of my life to public service, and kind of tough to walk away, but I did end up making the move. I moved out to Los Angeles. I did that in 07. I wrote a book, and my book's called Deluded Angels, and it got published. It did okay. It does better now, actually. But all along in the film industry, I had tried to get involved in the most important lesson I think I truly learned from the military and anything in life is to take initiative. Nothing's going to happen when you sit around. Like if we carry this expectation that our dreams and our hopes are all going to come true and somebody's going to come deliver it to us, then we're just going to be very sorry our whole lives. So I took the initiative and, I landed in LA. The next day I signed up at a thing called Central Casting, and it's where they cast people. And I thought, let me just get on set and learn how all this works, and that'll be my way in. So, do you remember a show called Navy NCIS by any chance?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so pretty popular with the military. But
the one that's still on?
Is it or was it?
I don't know. Maybe it's not new anymore, but like they're playing it a lot these days. NCIS in the San Diego, LA area.
Yeah, the
one with Mark Harmon?
Yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, it's on all the time now. Great show.
So I'm not sure if they're still making those or those are reruns, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
That was my first gig, and I got to work on that the second day that I was in LA. So I was
a writer?
An extra. No, as an extra.
Oh, really?
I didn't know anything about show business, so it was just kind of those things where I was getting these books and I was reading these books on how to do it, and whether it was writing or producing or directing, the first advice that they give you is get out there and network and learn how things happen.
Right.
So, that's what I did. And I ended up knowing a guy that was the technical advisor on the show from the military. And, when he saw me, he helped me immediately get into SAG. And then I was helping assistant technical direct on a show called JAG, which I'm sure a lot of people know.
Oh, yeah.
Gentleman named Matt Siglock does that show, and he takes military guys under his wing and really helps develop them in the entertainment industry towards whatever they want to do. So what he offered me was the chance to be part of a set and really get to sit next to all these great directors that come and go, because they would have the same directors come around now and then, but for the most part on TV shows, because it's so much work so quickly, it's a different director on a weekly basis. So I got to learn kind of how they did things, how they set up, learn everything from framing to blocking to composition to, how you're making the film and you need to be editing at the same time you're shooting to know how things fit together. So I then gathered all that information, and I still wasn't able to write my own stuff. And here's kind of a funny story actually about JAG. I wrote an episode of JAG, and we had it all the way through where Donald Belisario himself had said, guys, I love this. I wrote it with a guy named Anthony Gonzalez, who was a Marine as well. And they canceled the show before we could even make any kind of deal. So that was kind of my first.
You're all so close.
These are all lessons, though, in life. It happens. So things went by, and, maybe a year progressed, and nothing had really happened. And again, it's because I had stopped taking initiative. I thought, well, I've done all these things in my life, and now I'm pretty good at this stuff. Maybe somebody will call me and offer me a job as a second assistant director, and nothing was really happening. So I reached kind of this precipice of frustration where I said, I gave up a great career, something very honorable, and I left and I came out here, and nothing's happening. I really got to figure out what I'm going to do as my next step. So then I had, decided for failure. I said, well, I guess I'm going to fail, and I guess I'm going to go back to being an air marshal. And instead of that, I had said, well, let me just give this one more try. And my two favorite things in the world are motorcycles and riding. So I wrote a show called Mean Streets, Great Eats. And I got Kawasaki to put up a brand new motorcycle. I got a bunch of apparel companies involved. And I filmed an episode where I had rode down Latuna Canyon, which is very famous for motorcycle riders out in your neck of the woods towards Malibu, and ended up at Neptune's Net. So I filmed it. It was like an eating show meets riding show. And my neighbor at the time, I was living in Venice Beach, my neighbor at the time was making a play. And the play was doing very well. It was called After the Wizard. And he came over and he asked me about making it into a film. And I said, I know some people I can refer you to. This is what I've been doing. And when I showed it to him, he was like, you know what? I want to do this on my own, and I love this. Can you just help me produce? And helping him produce turned into being the only producer on the movie. He spent about $120,000. We filmed in 8 states, including New York City, Penn Station. We chartered a bus, a private plane. There were days we had 400 extras on set when we filmed in Kansas. But the movie, while it's not the greatest film, it's a family film. It ended up on the cover of all 32,000 Redbox machines all over the U.S. So it was kind of my first taste of success in a small form, but that's really what launched me into the entertainment field.
Wow. And so where does it go from there?
So from there, because it was, a bit of a success, I had a bunch of opportunities come up, and none of them involved my own project moving forward. So it was, mainly like, hey, Lance, can you jump on as a unit production manager or a line producer or one of these specialized jobs? Because as the only producer I had to do them all. I had to wear all those hats. And I really just wanted to make my own thing. So I knew these 2 guys, Gerard and Jamal Mixon. They're the guys from the heavyset guys from Me, Myself, and Irene, Old School, Nutty Professor. I don't know if you remember Hercules.
Oh, yeah, those are hilarious.
So I had a producing partner at the time, and they had told us that they wanted to do a movie that was like the urban version of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory meets Dude, Where's My Car? And, they're funny guys, and we all just pulled our connections together, and we had someone come on and invest, and we ended up making a movie called White Tea. White Tea ended up playing in theaters. I believe it played in like 8 states through AMC's Open Road program. And then it showed on Showtime first, and then it did a long run on Netflix, and it ended up playing pretty well. So that's kind of where I was with the film industry. And I had also opened a studio to start all this. I took basically all the money that I had. I invested it into a warehouse, and I did most of the work myself, but we built big green screens and offices, and we were able to basically rent that out to kind of supplement our pay for ourselves while we moved towards the goal of making our own film. And not only did it help supplement our income, but also when your investors come through and they see that you're taking action to reach your goals, then they're becoming part of something instead of the start of something. You know what I mean? So there were so many benefits to just having the studio. So after White Tea, I made the decision to take a little break, and I did take the break. I came back. I worked on a few other films as a producer. I ended up breaking my phone quite a few times in 1 month. So I spent, nearly $1,000 over the course of a month and a half. Because this is at the time when, a lot of people don't understand that phone screens are a commodity. They have precious metals in them. So the repairs were running $200 for an iPhone 6 repair at the time. And I thought, what a great business to be in. So I leased a store. I ended up turning it into a Verizon multi-carrier that also did repairs. And the reason I did that is so that I could learn the logistics behind it. So what I found is with repairs, the profit margins are good. They can be great depending on how much of the work to get the screens you're willing to do yourself. But what are your biggest issues? It's the same issue as every other business owner faces. You can make great margins while you're busy, but what do you do with the other 8 hours of the day? Some days when you look at the books on a repair shop on your week over week, you might see that Wednesdays end up costing your entire week, and it's solely because you have to pay specialized labor to sit there, whether they're busy or not. So I started coming up with ideas to kind of get around this problem, and I built the first prototype myself. It was basically I took a wood frame and I customized it out, and then we did a program on an iPad. And what it allowed you to do was go up, do self-serve repair, place it in a bubble wrap envelope, and then into a slot. Just with that idea, I was able to take it to a friend of mine who owned a Verizon multi-carrier store as well in Phoenix. And he said, you know what, go ahead and put it in my store. And he was so excited about it that he said, you know what, why don't we go ahead and put it in 10 of my stores? And because he was so excited about it, it made me kind of say, you know what, I might have something here. If somebody's really willing to put money and their reputation up on this idea, let me go ahead and develop this a little further. So I kind of went back to the drawing board and I wrote out a strategy, start to finish, for the next 24 months on how I was going to take this business from a wooden box with an iPad attached to a highly specialized machine that allows the user to have this user-friendly experience with a kiosk, but to also get virtually any electronic device repaired and delivered to them in the same day.
Hey, Lance, that's awesome. Let's take a quick break, and I want to hear the rest of this when we come back. Army veteran Bob Hewlin knows the struggles veterans face in the transition process and has dedicated his post-retirement years to helping veterans successfully transition into the civilian sector. His new book, Transitions 2.0, is one of the best books for any veteran facing the transition process. You can find Transitions 2.0 at veteranonthemove.com/transitions. Also, Bob Hewlin is the chairman and CEO of the Center for Transitional Leadership. CTL seeks to assist and empower armed forces personnel during their transition from military service to private sector employment, with particular focus on helping military men and women position themselves to be sought-after candidates in the civilian workforce. I have the pleasure of serving on the board of directors for CTL, and you can check out the CTL website by going to veteranonthemove.com/CTL. All right, we're back talking with Lance Frank from Mighty Fixer. And Lance, right before the break, you had fielded your idea for the Mighty Fixer. One of your buddies was going to put it in 10 of his Verizon stores, and you decided, I'm going to go back to the drawing board before we do this, make sure we do this right. So you're back to the drawing board. How am I going to make this great?
Strategy. It was just time to strategize. So went back, and like I said, I figured out a plan for basically the next 24 months all the way to exit strategy, and just started building from there. So the first step was to contact kiosk manufacturers. Then I had to completely customize it. Then it was to come up with a customized motherboard that would service the locker system of it. Make sure you have quality parts. Make sure that they can scale with you, that they can grow with you. The worst part, or one of the worst things you can have happen, is to be locked into one supplier for whatever your product is, get a huge order just to find out they can't fill that order. Mm-hmm. You'll lose it. So once all that was worked out, we went through a bunch of software issues, and we got it to the point where we are launching October 1st. I have a bunch of locations. I currently have 32 Verizon multi-carrier stores with placement agreements in between Phoenix and Las Vegas. I've got a placement agreement with Grand Canyon University, University of Advancing Technology. That's in Phoenix, Arizona as well. I'm going into a place called West 6th. It's on ASU campus in Tempe. We are doing Desert Sky Mall, which sees about 500,000 unique customers a month. And those will be some of our first locations where we're going out. 7 of them are going out October 1st. Another 10 of them go out October 15th. The first month is just kind of going to be beta testing. So we may end up pulling a few of them back in. We may not. Everything may work.
Okay. So walk me through the mechanics of how this works. I walk up, I got a broken phone screen. I walk up to a kiosk. What am I doing? What's happening?
All right. Well, the kiosk is big and modern looking. And if you go to mightyfixer.com, you can see a great demo video of how everything works. But the gist of it is this. It has a 42-inch ultra bright LED touchscreen on it. And then on the bottom of it, there's several different size lockers. So for your example, you wanted to say you broke your iPhone, no problem. So let's say I have an iPhone 6. I would just go up to the machine, and in under 5 clicks, which basically goes like this: phone, Apple, iPhone 6, and then screen and LCD. Now, if you're not sure if it's the screen and LCD, no problem. It's got a graphic on there that shows you the difference. If you're still not sure about anything at any time, you can press a button on the machine that's a camera, and it connects you live to a certified master technician who can then walk you through the rest of the transaction, and he can even do the rest of it for you and just pop the locker, and then all you'd have to do is put it in. But basically, once you're done with that questionnaire, it asks if you would like free delivery within 3 miles. If you choose yes, you'll just enter the address that you'd like it delivered to, and then all the details of the transaction will pop up. It asks you to confirm. Once you confirm, a locker opens up. You swipe your credit card or insert it, depending if you have the chip. You place your phone in the locker. You click it shut. And once you click it shut, we take care of the rest.
And so what happens after that? Like you said, I think earlier you said same day. So do I just come back to the locker and pick up my phone later, or?
If you choose for pickup, you can do that. So basically the way it works is, imagine Uber for technicians. So we put together these training manuals for essentially every single device someone can possibly work on. The tech goes in, they get certified, background checked, everything is tracked on the tech. Once they accept the job, they know to go fix it. They know what time to be there. But let's say, Joe, you're in a hurry, you need your phone right away. You can pay an extra $50 and they'll have it to you within an hour. Now that sounds like a huge upcharge, but you have to understand the average repair for an iPhone 6 right now, let's say from a major competitor like CPR or Ubreak iFix, you're looking at about $124.99 plus tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's $60 at the kiosk. So even if you add on the extra $50, you're getting the phone within an hour delivered to you. Plus, we have a 90-day guarantee, which is best in the industry, lifetime on our parts. And the phone's delivered to you, and the cost is still less than you would pay at one of the bigger retailers.
Really? Now,
Yes,
on your end, your tech guys, they're sitting around or sitting back at home base somewhere. When somebody has turned in a phone at a kiosk, they like stand up and drive over there and pick it up.
I hope they're not at home sitting around, but some of that I can't totally answer for you just because that's where we run into some proprietary things with the back end. But I will say that the overwhelming majority of the techs that we have on board and the applicants, because of the way that the pay scale works with us, so you make at a minimum double what you would make at a normal repair shop. You can make $250 for 2 hours of work. So a lot of the guys that we're getting on board are electronic engineers with certifications and licensing that have bachelor's or higher level degrees. So as far as sitting around, most of them are freelancers that are kind of doing their own thing, whether it's IT, networking, coding, one of the various jobs within the electronic industry that are available these days.
Yeah. So, me as a customer, if the standard fee is $60 to replace my broken iPhone screen, if I'm looking at, if I turn it into the kiosk, when am I expected to get it back fixed? And so how do I get it back? Do I go back to the kiosk, or if I don't pay to have it delivered?
Good question. So you get your device back a couple ways. One, you would get it same day. Now, the time is up to the retailer. How does that work? Well, we offer same day repairs. So we'll repair them either if the customer requests within an hour, within 3 hours, or same day. So if we tell you it's same day, then what happens is the retail store owner chooses the time that they would like it to be available. So let's say my Verizon store closes at 9. I know I need a tech there at 7:30, and that all repairs will be done before 9. So, and when I say all repairs, let's say 90% of repairs. There's a lot of computers that are going to come in, and there's just so many variations of parts that some of those won't be same day. But in the overwhelming majority of circumstances, it's going to be same day delivery. So it gives you two options. When you check out, a PIN code is actually printed onto the receipt for you. And that's a custom PIN code where at any time during this whole process, if you're like, you know what, I want my phone back, I want my device back, you just enter the PIN, the transaction's canceled, you take your phone back, and we're good to go. If you would like to pick your device up after it's repaired, same thing, you can use the PIN. Now, if you want it delivered to your home, or let's say you're stopping in, later at a gas station, you see a kiosk, you could say, let me put it in here, and then can you guys just deliver it to my work? You would enter your work address and a way to get a hold of you, and we'd get it out there to you, no problem.
Well, that seems really convenient.
Convenience, that's the key. Everybody wants everything right now.
Now, is it dummy proof? Like, I mean, you still got to work through the bugs, I suppose. But like, I drop it off at one kiosk, and I put in there I want it delivered at another kiosk, and they show up, and it's not there, and like, oh, I took it to the wrong one.
So this is the great thing about the kiosk. This to me is like what sets us apart from everybody else in the industry. You can literally press the camera button at any kiosk at any time. Give us your phone number and your contact info, and we'll let you know exactly where your phone is. If you are going through the menus and you're confused on anything, you just press that button and your live video connect to a technician as well. And they can pretty much do anything that you would need them to do from there as terms of diagnosis.
Well, that's pretty nice. And then, like, how do you work the back and forth? Like, say you dropped it off because the screen was cracked, and as it turns out, there's something more sinister wrong with it, and it's going to cost more.
So we always let the customer know first. We do ask for an alternate form of contact with them. If they don't have an alternate form of contact, then they would obviously find out when they got back to the kiosk. And it's not like they're going to find out with a note. They would also be able to video call us, and we can explain exactly what's going on and what the increase in price is, and if they'd like to go ahead with the repair.
Okay. And then how does this integrate with if Verizon, if you got insurance, if you got iPhone insurance, or you got insurance through Verizon, are you working with them yet, or do you have plans to?
So I'll tell you, corporate Verizon is actually the eventual goal. Right now we're in some, like I said, the 32 Verizon authorized retailers. As far as insurance goes, you read your insurance pretty carefully. With a lot of those phones, you're looking at a $200 deductible.
Yep.
You're looking at trading out your phone to a company called Assurion, who in return just gives you another phone that's refurbished that's already got problems. So, you're not waiting the day to 5 days. You're not paying as high of a fee. You get a warranty with it, and you can talk to somebody. So while we don't integrate with them at this point, there's, things that differentiate us from them as well.
Now, did you say I show up at your kiosk and I'm not really sure what my problem is, I can actually hit the button at the kiosk and I'm talking to somebody?
Correct. Video chat live.
So I'd be like, sir, I'm not sure what's going on, but I've plugged it into 3 different chargers and it doesn't seem like it's taking a charge.
Right.
Can I put it in? Can I drop it off, or what do you think?
So the tech's going to tell you, he's going to say, well, I can tell you right now that it could be anything from a battery to a dirty charging port to a charger port that needs repaired. So for a cleaning, you're looking at $20. For a charger port, you're looking at $34.99. Those are kind of where you're at. We're not going to know unless we look at it. If it's the battery, it's going to be X amount. And, there is a way that they can tell whether it's the battery or the charger port in most cases, just by talking to the customer about his experience. So,
yeah. Now, if this is inside a Verizon store, I can see there's a pretty big trust factor there with the customer. But if this is like out on a sidewalk in front of a Vons or a Price Chopper or grocery store or something, I can see people a little nervous about just dropping their phone in a box and walking away.
Me too. And I love that, because this is like the time where a brand truly gets to define itself. So as long as we, in my opinion, define ourselves by quality, integrity, and the same principles that we learned in the military, then we're just going to build a trust as a brand with the consumer. The goal is not to get you in and out of the door as cheaply as possible. That helps. But at the same time, our goal is to be the Walmart or the Amazon of services, where if you have a problem, we'll take care of that problem for you. We have the 100% customer satisfaction guarantee, which I can assure you that's going to bring dollars off the bottom line, but it will bring the trust up. And I think, value is a trade-off of the two. And for me, I'd rather err towards the side of quality.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned that if we wanted to check this out or check out a video of how the process works, just go to mightyfixer.com and there's a video on it to explain it all.
Right. If you go to mightyfixer.com, on the top of the page, there's a quick demo, which is a bunch of aerial shots. And then there's another demo that shows you how the machine actually works.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. So your episode's going to come out around the second week in November. So by the time you're hearing this episode, you should have been, your first couple of kiosks have been released and you've been in business for a month or so. So we'll know how well it's working at that point. So at this point, you don't really have one of your brand new revamped kiosks like out available for people to use at this right now, do you?
So they've been out, but they've only been going to shows.
Sure.
But like I said, they go out October 1st. Mainly, there was some issues with the boards. So this is exactly like we started out on a Windows platform, and Windows, it kind of lagged, and then we had a reliability issue. So I switched everything over to Android, but it basically set us back a month.
Okay.
But again, it's worth it because you don't want to enter the market and not have a product that's just ready to go. You want everything to be easy, trustworthy, and consistent.
So back to the Verizon thing. I'm curious, how the business relationship works in all that. You're actually initially you had a kiosk inside a Verizon store. You had your own store, and a buddy of yours decided to put it in all 10 of them, or was you were getting ready to. How does that business relationship work? So, like, instead of processing a broken phone through the insurance process, they're like, just go over and put it in the kiosk.
Okay, well, great question. So the way it works is everything's a separate transaction. So it hooks up to the Wi-Fi securely. We put an enormous amount of research, time, effort, and monetary assets into the security. That's kind of the foundation for everything if you're going to do this kind of transaction. But once it connects to Wi-Fi, everything runs through a server. So the kiosk itself just acts as a front. What we're able to do then is break all the banking out. Okay. So I show the business owner everything just as if they were a Subway chain store restaurant owners. So they're seeing the cost of the parts, the cost of the technician, the cost of the extra services, the insurances, all the details that go into the cost, and they're given a final number. So right now, because I have different options, and these are our first launch, of the 6 different kinds of businesses or institutions that we're working with, I have 4 different business models in action right now in terms of pricing and splitting and everything. But once that is settled on, then basically what happens is they get an ACH directly into their account with the reporting statement. And as the transaction happens live, like every time that locker closes and a card swiped, they're given a live update of that transaction happening. So it's almost like just one more service that they get to offer, except they're not really doing any of the maintenance on anything. All they're doing is just saying, hey, you can get it fixed at that kiosk in our store. And then, like I said, the money gets ACH'd into their account with their statement.
Yeah. But have you had any pushback from these insurance companies? Like, hey, people aren't using the insurance product we're selling anymore. Who's this kiosk guy?
When that happens, I'll know I'm on the right path.
You're about to achieve victory.
Yeah. Hey, the numbers are huge. It's a huge industry. I think people don't realize it's a $21 billion industry in the United States alone for electronics repair.
Yeah. I've contributed a lot of money to that $21 billion with 4 teenagers. Don't even get me started. So,
oh, man,
I will have to say, last weekend, I've been out back all afternoon. We had some Wounded Warriors over and stuff, and we were a bunch of people backyard. And I've been in and out of the hot tub a couple of times. I hop into the hot tub and I reach in my pocket of my swimsuit, and my phone's still in my pocket. And I'm like, God, I'd been submerged for probably for a minute. And I shot up out of there, but I had an iPhone 7, and they're advertised as being waterproof.
Water resistant.
Yeah, the battery pack I had it attached to, the battery pack was dead, never came back. iPhone kept on working, iPhone 7. So, and
nice.
That same hot tub has at least ruined one of our iPhones in the past. So that was nice, but they're still not making them unbreakable. So,
no, they're not for at least a long while. And also, the thing that sets us apart, I think, from everybody else is we also fixed drones. So, it's a $2 billion market last year. And we also fixed laptops and desktop computers. So it's not just phones you can drop off there. There's separate compartments for computers and drones and laptops and tablets and everything.
Wow, that's cool. All right, Lance. Well, we're at the end of our time here. If you're talking to somebody out there who's listening, who's looking to get involved in business, running their own business, getting into entrepreneurship as a veteran, somebody from the military community, what kind of advice would you have for them?
So you got an hour?
No, I've only got like 30 seconds.
All right. Well, then I would just say, just do it. The most important things that you can take away from the military, number one, is going to be take initiative. And then if you put the following 5 things together, I promise you it's going to equal success. So you want to come up with a good strategy. You want to always keep integrity. So be truthful when you're doing business. Have great clarity in your vision. So understand a step-by-step plan on how you're going to execute. And execution is the next step. Now, once you've done all that, you want to make sure you have an exit strategy. And when you do all that, you're going to find success. And those are things I think that you learn best in the United States military.
Outstanding. Well said. You're exactly right. All right, Lance, love to talk I'd love to hear the rest of what you got to say for an hour, but maybe we can put that on another episode someday, like a year from now when you sell out to Verizon and AT&T as a multi-million-dollar sellout. Okay. Well, thanks, right, Lance. Thanks, I appreciate
really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your story, man. These two veterans are Oscar Mike. As you can tell from listening to the Veteran on the Move podcast, interviews are a great way to tell your story and spread the word about your business. If you would like to get booked as a podcast guest, I recommend Interview Valet. You can check out Interview Valet at veteranonthemove.com/valet. Be sure to check out Thrive15.com, the world's premier online education platform that helps entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and intrapreneurs learn how to start or grow a successful business. Start your free 30-day membership by going to Thrive15.com and use the promo code VETERAN. Thank you for listening to Veteran on the Move, your pathfinder to freedom. If you like the show, leave us a review on iTunes. Reviews are always greatly appreciated. So until next time, this veteran is Oscar Mike.